tuning into another episode of That's Not That, the sports talk show. You have Coach McMichaels in the seat, and today we are here to talk about goals, like the different aspects and considerations of a goal in sports. Before we get into it, I want to kind of cover briefly sports development as far as like a culture or society is concerned. Usually how it goes is you have like basically it's like to some degree of your awareness as you're like going into your surroundings and like probing things. You would have to consider what so you have this conversation that you're having with like somebody else or something else alive in your like environment, and then eventually it's like the activity associated with it becomes like a little like one-sided, and then you end up with like, okay, now there's just this part of this that I feel when I do this enough, it just does that, and I use that thing to go do something, so everything else kind of goes into just like doing that again. And when you start doing this on purpose and you start getting like practices and things like that, where you like farm or stuff like that, right? Like you come up with like things you could repeat, like how we have science nowadays. But the first sport is called Kuchu, right? It's not the only place that was played. It was played pretty much all over the globe, but it was done by like people kicking the heads of their enemies around, right? And then eventually it's round, you notice it's round, but how much more round could that be? And the question is, do we continue to compete and complete the activity and do our competition, or do we like develop the game that we're playing currently? Right, and now we have the option to do either or. Eventually the game turns into soccer, right? And then you have like different size balls and things like that you can play with it. And nowadays soccer, we have both indoor, we have outdoor, right? And then you have like your different eras of or areas of play. You get recreational, you get professional, you get semi-pro, right? After like more of the attributing your desire for practice and fulfillment in the area of the sport is like where we start getting like intrinsic like stimulators and rewards, where you get like your feel good, like your endorphins from it, like from playing it, and then you get it's like, I think here's a hormone you secrete. I have to double check the name. That when you play and you compete and you complete like physical activity in a like desirable fashion, it's more like your leisure area, you get your like your feel goods as far as like it being associated with like presence and somebody watching you, or like awareness of self, like consciousness, but like the feel good portion of it. And then eventually we start rewarding our behavior like extra, so we could have like a trophy or something sit around because I did that like that, so like maybe I want to go have this one do something like that then. And as we're going into, for America currently, we're hosting a really big like soccer event. It's called the World Cup. All right, currently it's between three countries. It works between the three different countries from top to bottom. It's some North American version. It's not necessarily just the United States. And then a few years later, we get the Olympics, the Summer Games, where they have field hockey. That's like something new that they're doing for that one. And then we also have, while this is going on, we have our multiple professional venues that we would be supporting too, going out and like going to other countries and returning home, stuff like that. It's a lot of movement and exercise and like excitement and stimulation. You gotta wonder what's like going on with that at some point. And then like I'm proposing or hypothesizing at this point that maybe something like this is where we get sport from. So it's like, or the award system, where it's like you can't actually do anything with the award itself, but it's just like something nice to have to like go around with, right? Like a trophy, and it just sits on a shelf. And then like you just consider what a trophy is. So it could be like, okay, somebody's prized pig, right? I know where I'm from. We're based in Fresno, California. And for us, we have the Little Big Pig game, where it's, the saying is, it's like the longest like stemming or branching rivalry on this side of the Mississippi for a high school, right? It's between Roosevelt, which would be the Rough Riders, and then the Warriors, which are like more of your tribals and your, I would say your primaries, one of your like core interest groups going into the foundation and the founding of the country. But the trophy for that one's a pig, right? And then you have your association to think about too, as far as like what you want the outcome to be from like having it. Like, so like one group wins the trophy, they get more like influence or desire. It does that sometimes, it doesn't. Like the further and more complex the game becomes, and the more like intuitive value attributed towards it is like the different like aspects and elements that you could play at as you're like going to practice and participate in the game. It like plays out different. Like you have different like scenarios and cards to like play. Like for example, we were just talking about like somebody wins the trophy and you kind of like just don't talk about it as much, but like gloss it over a little bit. So it's like they're really excited, you're on a high, and the world kind of goes on, because I don't really want to be on the losers team, right? But at the same time, you didn't support the winning team, or maybe they're not just like somewhere where it's immediately convenient to yourself. But for much of this, it's like a lot of preparation and fairness going into participation, especially as the sport is like more developed. So you want to think about something like stock car racing or F1, where the cars are like highly sophisticated and they're like purpose-built to only compete in certain areas, and there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. And this brings us back and then to talking about setting goals that are like achievable, and then to begin the conversation, like maybe do you like to discuss like having something that's like decent or acceptable as far as like goal tracking, because it's easy to say like I would like to run a mile tomorrow, then get up and go run the mile, but like what specifically about the mile am I going to like focus on while we're running, so I know like when I see this thing again or at somewhere else, or I have to go compete in it again, I have some kind of like metric or standard to work off of as we're going to like work in the other areas. And for sports, they're not always events and things like that happen long term. Like recreationally, you can go play whenever you want, pretty much at this point. There's also the question of work, like how it transfers when you're looking at the roles in society as far as like stimulating people's growth and development. Like, is this actually considered work, or is it more of like a leisure activity where it's just like bonus, like feels, or like just some kind of like extra stimulus, but goals and having to be attainable. Like, how do you track a long-term goal, like for somebody that wants to be like top tier caliber athlete and they only have enough time to participate in their venue, and this window for this is like once every 4 years? Like, think about that. You have all this preparation and time to go do something, and it's just once every 4 years. And then you realize as you, I don't know if you know this, but you dig deeper into it, and they have like different events that they participate in going into it, where they're like working with other people in the same avenue, or in a similar fashion, like working up the chain of like development as far as sports is concerned. So you have like your semi-pro leagues, you have your professional leagues, you have your amateurs, you have your like, recreational groups, you have your like school level, like interscholastic leagues, right? And you're like working up the chain of, I'm participating in this sport, and while you're doing it, you're like developing your technique. But like sitting out to go like have somebody track this thing and watch it and then like make sure like when you get there everything goes together. It's like insane how much like how resource intensive this like practice is, and it's like something that we like the more developed it becomes, it's like more of a like supply and demand thing. It's like something we favor and view upon, or view that's like desirable, I guess, like how you like to eat food, but like when you farm and do stuff like that, it gets better, and like you can control like size and like output of the crop, and then like maybe flavor profile, and like play with like genetic expressions and things like that. Force is essentially like the same way now, like how complex people are like nowadays. Like you could look into like something like anthropology and like look at bone structure, and like maybe like radioactive signatures would probably be a better bet for something that's old and like in the dirt at that point. But like the sophistication of like self-awareness and control as it like translates to sports, and then your development, and then like how you reward something like that. So maybe like I don't know, like looking into like more of our professional venues, you get like something that's solid metal, right, for a trophy. Like metal is a deposit, and you leave it in the ground for a while, and then eventually you pick it up, you process it, and you like attribute yourself towards it and say this is doing that, and like it's how you like keep it and keep something in the loop. It's like rewarding the behavior, and then like further down the chain you go, like you still get metal, but it's less refined. It's more of like just like what's kind of lying around. Personally, goal setting, what it looks like, you would have like a activity you would like to complete, and then you would have to remember to break it down into its core components and like key steps, and then work on your transitions. And then you have more factors to consider as far as situational awareness, where to be, like how to be completing an activity. You have like different states and like transitions, like transitional states for like sports, like say football player, right, just standing out in the field and being in a ready stance as far as somebody sees it. You have no idea what's going through that guy's head right now, right? But like think about it. Now I have where I need to know like a book of like 30 plays, and then like for these 30 plays I have something where I would be developing for self personally, and then right, I have to respond to what the team across from me is doing, and then like just a matter of a few seconds, like make a decision, and then like I have to sit up and then be ready for that, and then get up and then go move from me getting ready to go do this, sitting, adjusting, scanning, processing all the stimuli, going towards the situation, right, preparing myself to go make a move, recruiting myself to go make this move, going in to go make the move, and then actually letting everything fall together in like a reliable chain, right, where I can go make the move. It's like it's acceptably repeatable. It's like comfortable. I could teach somebody else to do it. It's like easy to pass down. It's not like too far-fetched and out of the realm of like what's possible. I also noticed that too. It was like looking into different sporting events and venues. More of the like widely accepted group activity is like something that's like not necessarily the easiest thing to do. It's pretty easy the more you get into it, right? The more you want to sit and like develop and work on yourself, like to go do like say like shooting a basketball or making free throws. Like the more you want to go work on it or participate in the sport, you have to like find where your niche is. What do they call it? A niche. Basically like your area where you would grow up, like kind of doing that is what you would be looking at. Kind of like fill around a little bit, see who's out, what's comfortable, and if it's not there, like working on that to developing that. Like how are you working on that to get that going and like pushing yourself in that area. but it's more generalized. The wider spread the sport is, and then most of the people that actually like specialize in like just like one key area, or like just completing an activity with like a lot of emphasis, form, and power that's not really widely accepted. It's not as widely like celebrated or preached or talked about. It's usually like in your smaller circles, and then like it permeates out of it because of maybe like the recruitment culture that they've been like promoting for themselves, as far as them sitting in their environment and like preparing to complete an activity over and over again, and then working with their communities to kind of keep themselves like in a motivated spot where it's easy for them to work through their situation to complete their activity. That's another like really good part about like setting like really good goals for yourself too, is being able to get in and like your situational awareness, like your primes, like getting up to go say, I'm going to go do this now, and I know like the mail truck's out today, so I'm going to go race the mail truck. That's like one way to think about it, but like you also have like schedules and things like that people need to keep. You have to also think about when your event would be happening. So like try this again. So like kind of creating a situation where that's familiar, but at the same time not like over exhausting yourself, where you're doing the same chain, the same like kinetic portion, you're promoting the same like really good foundational potential like expressions for participating in the sport, but like the prime for the venue of doing something like isn't there. Like how do you moderate how you're approaching your goals? Like, am I playing this thing for like 6 hours a day every day, or is this just a like 20-minute exercise that I just want to like kind of feel good for, and then like what kind of results am I expecting from this? We got into the conversation eventually of like talking about like trophies and like Hall of Fame, being like renowned for participating in sports and venues, but you have to realize that most of these like Hall of Fame situations and moments are like more of the generalized approaches to like participating in an activity. So like I have like good metrics and standards for measuring those, so I can set my goals easier that way. As far as like widespread approaches, and then specialized categories usually a little bit harder to measure. They're a little more like you would probably say awe-inspiring, like the level of intensity and intrinsic value as far as potential, and then actual attribution of like study and like emphasis of like the different mechanical components and like expressions is concerned. It varies. But thus far, so setting like the best kind of goal would probably be something it has to change with you, right? You have to be aware of what's going on. You have to get into your avenue of where you would want to compete, right? For you doing something, and then get the gears kind of like worked up into the primary components. And I don't know, it's a lot for people sometimes, and you know, you kind of fortunate, I guess, to have me talking to you about this kind of thing at this point. And then from here, it literally is just getting in and going to complete it. Like the start is usually like the weirdest thing. Like you don't know how it's supposed to feel. Somebody else isn't going to experience the sport the same way you are. It'd probably be something pretty similar because of all of our, I'm going to say analogous or homologous structures, where like there are similar things that people share. Like I got a stomach, that person has a stomach, I have a right, like left hand and a right hand. That person has a left hand and a right hand. I know how to go do some things the same as this person, but like starting it for me personally because of like situational factors and environmental cues and things like that. Also, another part of that too is like getting into like wearing stuff to go compete too is like also something you would like consider that nobody really thinks about too much. Like just starting a sport and then like seeing it develop as far as like pretty much like it's like insane.